Hello there, Fit Lifer family, and for all of our guests who are joining today. If you are on the email stream, you get a chance to watch. So today is recorded. So if you find this information helpful, useful to you in any way, please feel free to go ahead and share this email with this link in it to your bestie, to your friend, to your neighbor, whoever that you think it might serve. Because you know what, when we know something, when we know better, we can do better, and we can do better and help others. That makes everybody just that much happier and healthier. So today we are talking about, for those new people who don't know me, my name is Tanya Gustafson. I'm your nutritionist and fitness coach. Fit Nutrition is my company. Started it now 13 years ago to help women take back control of their health, their hormones, their weight, and their mental wellness without dieting, love their body, and live with food freedom. So that's what we do here. And we're just going to dive right in. We're talking today about the mood swings. The mood swings in menopause, like they are real, okay? Real annoying, real frustrating, but they are real. So anyone tells you that they're not, that roller coaster is a thing sometimes people get on and they have trouble getting off, right? So it's kind of like that, well, I felt great 10 minutes ago, but now I'm just like so emotional. I'm so upset. I'm so angry. I'm so frustrated, whatever. And yeah, there's a reason that happens, right? So a lot of what we women and the world used to think, doctors, scientists included, when we're talking about moods and things to do with our mental health and wellness, right? Because our moods really are all encompassing with that. We used to think it came from here, but it doesn't actually come from here. It comes from our gut, most of it. And you've probably heard me, if you've been following along for any length of time, you might have heard me mention that before. So all things perimenopause, menopause, and beyond are all affected by what's happening in your gut microbiome. So the microbiome is that place, with all the microbes and bacteria and organisms and all the things that work together synergistically to keep us healthy. That's like the epicenter of our health, okay? Like 70% of your health is made in your gut. And that's something that most people don't realize. Doctors don't usually tell you that, which is why if you've ever had now lately, as to my knowledge, I haven't had prescription meds for a long time, but if you've been given an antibiotic or anything, I'm told now by a few people that they also recommend you going and getting a probiotic with it too, which is great. You do have to know what kind of probiotic to use. So there's still some education that needs to come out around that, but they're trying, and something is better than nothing. Always something is better than nothing. So, yeah, all things perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, everything in your life. So it's not just about the menopause. We just see everything's amplified during this period, right? So it's like, whoa, if it was kind of like, yeah, in the background before, and now it's like, whoa, front and center. So it's kind of like hitting you in the face and you can't miss it anymore. You can't ignore it. But all the things, they are made in your gut. And more scientists are finding about, and talking about it. Doctors are, they're like I said, with the probiotics and your when you take an antibiotic, right? So I have been fortunate enough to work with a specialist in the microbiome and mental wellness, Dr. Sean Talbot. He is a nutritional biochemist. He's a psychonutritionist because he really deals with what's going on in here and how it directly affects up here. And when we're talking moods and menopause, that the result is what we're feeling up here, right? But that's not where it comes from. It comes from down here. And so I am just going to, I've got a great video from Dr. Talbot. I'm just going to bring that up here. And then you can have a little listen if you haven't listened to that before. And excuse me. And then we'll carry on with a few of my notes that I've got for you today. So I'm just going to come into here. I'm going to grab this slide here from the Menopause Masterclass. If you were on that, you might remember this from there. So let me just make this a bit bigger for you. Oops, hang on. Here we go. And we'll just get it started here. There we go.
where we sit right now in history is right at the cusp of a complete paradigm shift in how we think about mental wellness. If we had a problem that we perceived here, it seemed like it made sense that it was in the brain and we should target the brain. And that's what we've been doing for the last 100, 200 years. What we're realizing now is that maybe that isn't our primary target. And what we're seeing here in the brain is a secondary effect of something else that's happening in the body. And what we've just learned in the last 5 to 10 years is that, yes, that is a secondary effect. The primary effect, and therefore the primary target, is in the gut. That's the second brain. That's where we have 100 trillion bacteria in our intestines. That number is more than there are stars in the galaxy, in the Milky Way. So the gut microbiome makes more serotonin than the brain does. That's the feel-good neurotransmitter. It makes more dopamine than the brain. In order for these neurotransmitters in the gut to have their effect in the brain, they have to be able to communicate with each other. And they do that through chemicals that the gut makes, chemicals that the bacteria make, that travel throughout the body, that signal through the nervous system, that signal through the immune system. This idea of the gut-brain axis, targeting the brain, but targeting the second brain in the gut, and then targeting the communication network between them, that axis, that's really the forefront of medicine these days, and the forefront of science, and the forefront of how we're going to actually get ahead of all of these mental wellness issues and have a benefit in people's lives.
All right. Okay. So from the expert right there, right? Dr. Sean Talbot showing you that great visual there, things happening along the gut brain axis. And so, yeah, very fortunate enough to have worked with him. I've taken his certified mental wellness coach. And so when he's talking about targeted probiotics and things like that, there are several of our Fit Lifers taking those kinds of things because, a lot of times, when we talk about gut health, how many, if you're watching this on the replay or, if you're watching it live, whatever, drop a number 1 down below. If you were one of those who thought that, gut health was only to do with like fixing your digestion, really only had to do with, you didn't want to be constipated anymore, or you didn't want to have diarrhea anymore, right? Like there's a lot of that sort of mindset out there. It's like, oh yeah, you need more fiber, so you just keep things moving. And yes, we do, for sure. Most people aren't eating enough fiber either. That's a whole other talk. But what I'm saying is that mindset has to shift. It's not just about our digestion and the elimination. It's about restoring that microbiome, because all of those microbes and things in there affect what happens in the rest of our body as well as our brain, right? Our brain sends out the signals to the rest of our body. So we're really doing ourselves a disservice by not, right? By just kind of brushing that off as kind of like woo woo and whatever. And it was funny. I remember Dr. Talbot telling me at a conference that when he himself, even many years ago, because he's been doing this for a long time. He's been, a scientist for a long time. But when that whole first thing when he was in medical school was coming out about the gut and everything, and people were talking about it in small bits here and there, and he said, a lot of us scientists, we were thinking, oh, those granola people, they're just like, that's just woo-woo science, and they would make fun of it. He actually said we would make fun of that. And now it's become his life's work for the last, 2 decades or so. So just to let you know how long it's been around with some people who are in the know, and then how long it's been when people actually focused on doing this work. And yet it's still not the forefront. It's still not addressed fully if you go to the doctor, or, unless you're maybe going to a naturopath or something like that, you might have a better response there. So anyway, that I thought was very interesting. And so taking those targeted prebiotics, probiotics, phytobiotics in a way that's going to help with that digestion, elimination, right? We don't want anything to be backed up, to regulate, so that it's not just like a laxative to make things move, or something to stop, to slow you down if you're having diarrhea. We don't want that. We want the body, we want to stimulate the proper response the body's own response, not just making it do things. Okay, does that make sense? Right? We can stimulate responses in the body. So taking the right types of herbs and combinations of things like that to make that happen is super important. And so that's what we do here. We help guide people on that. And a lot of my clients and a lot of our fit lifers are loving their happy juice, taking that every day. That's really been helpful. There's some different also digestive enzymes you can take, just specifically just digestive enzymes. And it's all about the person and where they're at, right? So having those conversations, it's not a one size fits all. The happy juice does have a very good lot of things that it targets for a lot of people. Sometimes we need to tweak it for different things, but a lot of people have a lot of great results. And so just because of the way it's because of what it's targeting. So it's very meaningful. Now, as I was doing my research for this talk today, because I do look up stuff, you know, for you guys, I want to provide value for you. I came across a doctor named Dr. Jolene Brighton, and she also is she specializes in gut health, and she also specializes, she's a hormone expert for women. And so interesting, because I was searching up the relevance of the two, and lo and behold, oh my goodness, there's a lot of great stuff out there, because it all affects our mood, our motivation, our happiness, our focus, our attention, our sleep. All of it comes from there, right? And so she had there was some great notes from her that that I took from an article that she wrote as well too. So she says, no matter where you are in your journey through menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause, it's always a good time to start loving your gut. So it comes back to what I've always said, you're never too late to make meaningful change. She even goes on to say your microbiome is incredibly receptive to change. It's a good thing, right? Meaning that the good changes can start to take effect in just weeks. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that out there first, because a lot of times women will think, well, I've done everything. I've tried so many things and nothing's working. Yes, and sometimes you just haven't tried the right thing, you know? So the issues that you're having are symptoms of your health and your hormones, right? Like all of those nasty menopause things, the extra weight, the brain fog, the bloating, the joint pain, the exhaustion, the crashing in the afternoon, then you're tired but you can't sleep, your mind's racing and then it can't focus, you forget what you came into the room for. All of those things, you know, are based in health and hormones. They're symptoms of health and hormones. So rather than focusing on each individual thing, because it's a laundry list for some people, right? We're not focusing on each individual one separately, which I'm not bashing doctors, but when you go to your doctor and you say, well, I have this, and do you ever see the sign on the wall? It says you can't discuss more than two issues at a time, or two symptoms at a time, or three sometimes, because they only give you 10 minutes per patient or something like that. It's like, ooh, okay, crazy. The thing is, they're all related. They're all coming from the same place. But when you go in, maybe you go in for like joint pain one time, joint pain and your digestion's off. Like you're like, ugh, I'm bloaty and my becky and my joints are achy. So, but you still have all these other things. So you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to pick these two because these two are the most annoying. Okay, I'm going to talk to that. All right. So then they're going to give you something to, to get the poop moving if it's not moving. And they're going to give you something, some sort of NSAID for the pain. Or they'll send you for a cortisone shot or this or that. And then you go back and you're looking at, okay, I'm brain fog and I'm like exhausted. I'm not sleeping well. Okay, you kind of squeaked in 3 there, right? And then, so they're like, okay, well, maybe we should give you some sleeping pills, because how long haven't you been sleeping? You tell them, it's like, oh yeah, you really need to sleep so that you can help, with all the other things. And they're right, you do need to sleep. So then they give you a sleeping pill, and then they give you this, and then so you get where I'm going with this, right? The idea is all of these things are symptoms of your health and your hormones, and those are related, the double H's, okay? So let's just focus on the overall health coming from here, which affects here and here, right? And then it helps to balance your hormones. Isn't that interesting? So she does recommend, here's some things that she recommends, which I highly agree too. We talked about these in our menopause masterclass. Incorporating the fermented foods into your diet, right? Like having those fermented foods. If you are not a fermented food person, you might want to start small and just consider adding a few things. Maybe you want to, add some pickled things or a little bit of kimchi to something, or maybe some sauerkraut next time you're having a barbecue or something. Like just thinking a little bit outside the box. Maybe you want to start making your own kombucha. Watch with that one though. There's lots of sugars in there sometimes, and sugar is not one thing you want to put in. So you got to make sure you're doing the process correctly. And yeah, so you want to make sure you're doing that, adding some fermented foods if you can. And she says take a daily probiotic. So she says, I love that she has specified this, because remember we talked about last week on just, people go to the store and they pick a probiotic, and I kind of pick on probiotics, not because I think that people shouldn't take them. I absolutely think we should take them. I take them every day, targeted ones. It's the thing about educating people about why are you taking them, right? So she says choose probiotics that include lactobacillus strains, which is exactly the one that's in the mentobiotics that I take and that I recommend, part of the Happy Juice system, as well as prebiotics to help them establish the strong colonies, right? So prebiotic, probiotic, and phytobiotics is what I take and recommend. And she said, clinically researched ingredients combine the benefit of lactobacillus probiotics with phytonutrients, right? So your phytobiotics to help establish good bacterial colonies, regulate your vaginal pH, that's a good one, and reduce inflammation. Well, inflammation is the root cause of all disease. So anytime we can do something to bring down inflammation, hello, I'm all in. So prior to, like, when I was quite a bit younger, between 19 and 20-ish, something like that, to like 40. So for 20 years, I had chronic inflammation. I had joint pain because from some injuries I had as a teenager. And I was a weather vane. This weather we're having here in Kelowna right now with all this rain, oh my gosh, I would be in such pain. I would be aching. I would be like just standing here waiting to go sit down and get a heating pad or go have a nap. Like I would be, because I don't like to take medications, right? That's what I would be like. I'm not anymore. Got rid of my inflammation. I used to be, that inflammation was also causing me to be sick every time, like 2-3 times a year. I'd be badly sick. Like, oh my gosh, the congestion in my head, would be so bad that I would feel like there's a complete blockage. And I would cough a lot, and I would like walk around with like my eye would just be constantly watering. Sometimes it was this side, sometimes it was that side, that it would shift. I'd be like walking along with a tissue, like holding it in my, like it was crazy. I'd get bronchitis frequently when I got sick. I had pneumonia when my third child was 6 weeks old, nursing 2 other kids, 6-week-old baby in the summer. I had pneumonia. It was not fun. I have had Norwalk. Like this is all a long time ago, like 20 years ago. Because I had all this inflammation. And as soon as I started targeting the inflammation, not focusing on the pain or the stuffy nose or the bronchitis or the pneumonia, like when I focused on the overall health picture and bringing down that inflammation, one by one, by one, by one, by one, they all went away. Okay. So all those things come from your health and your hormones, your health and your hormonal balance, especially the hormonal balance, especially as we get into the perimenopause, menopause age bracket category, right? Super, super important. So in that gut microbiome, you have microbes called estrobolome. Okay, estrobolome. Those help support your estrogen metabolism. So it's kind of like two words together, right? Estrogen and metabolism, estrobolome, they're together. So when your estrobolome is healthy, just the right amount of estrogen is released into your body. Ta-da! So how does it get not healthy? How does it get disrupted? Well, it's disrupted. Well, when it gets disrupted as we are heading into menopause, if we're not targeting the things that keep our gut healthy and all the things, right? Then, okay, so that estrobolome gets disrupted and it can cause the dysbiosis in your gut. So a dysbiosis in your microbiome is an imbalance of the bacteria where you have more bad bacteria than good. not the ideal place to be. You want to be the other way around, right? You want to have the good, more good than bad, obviously. Now, the reverse is also true. So when you're younger, even like, so not even like menopause, independent of menopause, if you've got dysbiosis in your gut because you have been doing things that cause inflammation, that you're not nourishing your gut, that you're, you're just eating too many seed oils, fast foods, processed foods, lots of sugars, too much alcohol, all the not balancing your blood sugar, all the things, you can create dysbiosis in your gut, which then causes the estrobolome to become unhealthy. And then that disrupts the release of estrogen. So you can even trigger those things way before any of that happens. So imagine now, for people who didn't know, and you're maybe triggering that, and then you also hit as you're going into menopause. Can you just imagine the kind of poop storm that happens? Like, oh my goodness, like what sort of Pandora's box did we open? And lo and behold, we have all of those symptoms that we talked about, right? So that's what we need to focus on, is really getting that gut healthy and doing all the things. Like, at all costs, if you had to pick something to focus on, you will get the most bang for your buck by choosing to balance your blood sugar and fix your gut. Blood sugar, gut. BG, blood sugar, gut. There you go. Alphabetical order, right? Balance your blood sugar and focus on healing your gut, because you are going to get so many benefits from that. They work synergistically together. Like, it's just an incredible, that's where the magic happens. All right. So she also goes on to say, I love this, avoid processed foods and refined sugars. Hello, just said that, right? Avoid the processed stuff. They are not real foods. They are food-like substances. And sometimes we like food-like substances. They taste really good. So then you have to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, is what I want now, do I want that more than what I want my outcome to be? Right? It's what I want now, more important than what I want to achieve with my health and my body, my hormones. Okay. And some people just, they look at it as like, I can't give this up, and okay, here's one that's not related to hormones, but it totally has to do with processed foods and sugars and diabetes, which is related to your blood sugar, which is, yeah, related to hormones insulin wise, not so much with menopause. Although, if your hormones are out of balance so much, you're not balancing your blood sugar, that does lead to diabetes. And then so it is kind of a roundabout connection. Okay. So, short story, many years ago, I was at the gym, different gym than where I am at now. A lot of elderly folk would come in and work out at the same time I did. It just seemed to work out that way, that we had this interesting group of seniors. Love them. Well, one time I noticed after a while that one of our seniors was missing. Like, he just wasn't there. He was fine. He didn't die, but he was just gone for a while. All of a sudden he's there, and he wasn't working out, but he showed up. His wife would come and do the swimming, and he would go in the weight room and do some stuff. Anyway, he showed up and he was kind of not working out, and he had a walker, and he was just kind of sitting down a little bit. And I noticed his foot was bandaged up, and I said, well, oh my gosh, what happened? Well, he had a toe removed. And we had talked, months ahead, like quite a while ahead, a couple times back and forth, because I've been writing a column for many years. If you don't know, I write for Castanet. I've written for the Courier for like, oh my gosh, I think Courier 10 years now, and Castanet 6 years. So written for a long time. And so a lot of the seniors would read my column, especially the one in the actual newspaper, right? So because of that, he would ask me questions. So we got talking the one day, and he was saying, about diabetes and all the things. And we talked a bit about circulation and a little bit about, but mostly about the diabetes and about food. And so I was giving him a quick little lesson on how he could help to balance his blood sugar, especially before he came to the gym in the morning, prioritizing your protein and, avoiding the cereals and all the things, right? And he made one comment about, oh, I don't think I can't give up bread. I'm thinking, okay, that's interesting. But I don't believe that people should have to like just never go without something for just never have it again, right? But there's a caveat here. But if your health is at a place where you need to make some drastic changes in order to get a result, then you need to make those drastic changes. Otherwise, you're just accepting the horribleness that's going to come from it, right? And so that's kind of where he was at. And he just I can't live without bread. And I'm like, I really didn't know what to say to that. Anyway, so fast forward, I see him in the gym again, and he's got the bandage on his foot. And I said, "Oh, what happened to your foot?" Like, I thought, oh, he sprained his ankle or something. Like, what happened to you, Dell? We haven't seen you for a long time. And he's like, "Oh, I had to get my toe amputated." And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that." So like that was because of your diabetes, right? Like the lack of circulation, all that kind of stuff, right? And he's like, "Well, yeah, I guess so." I said, "Well, what do you mean you guess so? Like, were they not talking to you about circulation?" Well, and he just kind of he was totally oblivious to the whole thing. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is either huge medical malpractice or huge, really, he just didn't want to change his lifestyle um to help, to help his health and he could have definitely prevented a piece of his body being amputated by changing what he was doing, what he was putting into his body. So yeah, wow. I just couldn't, that just was crazy to me that somebody would not see the value in that, right? So the idea is that we're going to focus on creating the optimal health in our body as soon as we can, starting from wherever we are. We can make those changes, and then it's our choice to do it. It doesn't become someone else's choice, your doctor's choice, your wife's choice, your husband's choice, because now there's an emergency, right? We don't want to get to that place where there's an emergency. We want to be able to make the choices. And that's what we're all about here. So avoiding the processed foods and the refined sugars, absolutely. Because when we do that, we are setting ourselves up to win. So yeah, and avoiding any unnecessary antibiotics. So, I mean, obviously, if you have some sort of an infection, you need that. And then you need to have a targeted probiotic to come back and fix that. You don't just want to go to the store and buy a probiotic off the shelf. And what if it's for diarrhea? Like, what if it's not for restoring your microbiome and healing your gut? What if it's just for like diarrhea or constipation? Well, you might get a little teeny bit of benefit, but you're definitely not going to restore that gut. Because just so you know, if you need the antibiotics because you have an infection or because you need it, then obviously you need to take it. Just be aware that the gut can take anywhere between 2 weeks and 2 years to fully recover after one course of antibiotics. So if you're someone who's had a lot of antibiotics in your life and you have digestive issues, hello, there we go. Is the light bulb coming on, right? There's things you need to be doing. There's things you need to invest in to do to restore that flora, that microbiome, and create symbiosis and get rid of the dysbiosis, right? And yeah, so taking that daily probiotic, the targeted ones. So those 4 things, right? Incorporating some fermented foods, getting the right probiotics, prebiotics, phytobiotics in there, avoiding any unnecessary antibiotics that you can avoid, and avoiding all the processed foods, refined sugars, and I would add in there alcohol because it's very inflammatory. And I would go even further to say balancing your blood sugar. It's all about the BS. I'm always going to preach that. I have for since I started. It's all about the BS. Blood sugar, that blood sugar creates hormonal balance, and when we use food to create hormonal balance and stabilize blood sugar, we help to bring down the inflammation in our body. We help to support healthy gut microbiome. Our body can properly metabolize food. So now we're using all the nutrients that we're taking in as much as possible, which is going to help to heal your gut even, like it's going to support healing of gut. And then when you put in the targeted supplements in there, you're going to really support that and you're going to get results. You're just going to get results. You're just going to feel so much better. When we put our body in a position to do what it's meant to do, we are incredible healing machines. Okay. So hopefully that's helpful for you today. I am going to stop the recording here. If you have any questions on this, it will be shared into the group. So go ahead and ask your questions in there or ask them in the portal. If you're a Fit Lifer and you're watching this in the archives there in the membership portal. If you're watching this on the email that you've got the one-time link there, then great. If you got a question, fire it back on the email. Be sure to share this out. to those that you know that may be struggling with gut health issues, especially to our ladies in perimenopause and menopause and beyond. All right. So have a wonderful rest of your week, y'all. Thanks for joining. I will be back live again next week, Wednesday at noon on the Zoom. Have a great day.